Hello and welcome to this Jane's Weather Update, the first video for the year. It is Friday, January 17th, and as usual, there is a lot going on. Let's have a look. We do have a low pressure system that is just here off the New South Wales coast, so just off there, and delivers big impacts just to its southwest. We've also got another one that is developing off the northwest coast of the country, otherwise large high pressure system that is moving into the southeast. Trough coming down in through here and a cold front about to move through the southwest too. Having a look over the past week, we've had, you can pretty much see it on the map here, this is how much rain fell, a fairly persistent trough that came down, snaking down through the eastern states, dipping into Victoria and the western part of Tasmania as it went across the weekend. So all of the falls were to the east of that line. That's how a trough works in the eastern states. We also had a lot of activity across the top there, but not huge falls for this time of year. All right, having a look at our sea surface temperature anomaly, so how much warmer or cooler it is on the top of the ocean. The boxes are our key areas and the waters around Australia. So let's start with the Pacific Ocean. We've got all of this blue in through here. We've got all of this warm orange off the Queensland coast and just to the north of us. That is us in a La Nina. It has just crossed that threshold, so it is a weak one that we're moving through. And what that does is when the atmosphere cooperates with what the top of the ocean is doing, then it helps to push rainfall in the direction of Australia. When we're in El Nino, then when the atmosphere follows suit, that pushes the rain away from Australia. That's not our case now. The ocean is pushing it towards us. On the other side, we've got some blues out in the box here. We've got some oranges off the coast of Indonesia here. We've got a lot of oranges and reds off the northwest coast. Now, this map has changed a little in recent weeks. It used to have all of those the heavier reds there across the top into this northwestern part. Now it has moved down through here, and I'll show you what that means for a potential cyclone shortly, but also down that western coast. So that is something to note. We also have an incredibly warm Tasman Sea, as we've had for years and years now, and whenever we get an easterly push, we can get that rain to push right on in. Depends where that trough sits as to how far inland it can actually go. So that's what the oceans are doing. Let's have a look at the MJO, Madden-Julian Oscillation. This is a pulse of energy that travels around the tropics. It had been moving in through here, been going through the dry zone is where we were. We saw the falls in the tropics weren't as heavy as they could be last week, but now we're moving out of that zone. Next stop is here, moving into the western parts of Australia. So let's have a look at what that will mean in the next week shortly, but do keep that in mind. That's one of our climate drivers, and that is an interesting one for us. I mentioned a cyclone. This is very related. All right, let's have a look at Nino. Now, you'll notice that, the Pacific Ocean Index. You'll notice that this map is looking a little plain. The Bureau stopped the feed of all of the different weather models from across the globe, and they only give us theirs now. So we can only display that until we can go and get the feed coming in. So that's something that we're working on. So this here is the Bureau's model forecast, their seasonal forecast for where we're going. What does it mean? Dipping below this line here, this is minus 0.8 degrees. I'll show you on another map shortly why you need to know about that. It dipped down here as we went through late December into January. So this is us in the beginnings of this week, La Nina. That has got us moving out of that and going neutral as we move through the year. This goes out to about June, where it might just pop onto the other side of neutral. Not up in through here yet, but something to note. So this is one model's forecast. Let's have a look at another one. So this is from the US. That had us coming down. So this is the zero. We've got minus 0.5, minus 0.8 is what we have as that line in the Australian area. That's when the Bureau calls it. But in the US, they call it at minus 0.5. So we've been in that since about November, December. The beginning of December is when that crossed their threshold. So now we are down in through here. The dotted line is what their forecasting is. So this is all the different runs of the models, and so it gets more and more like this, a bigger spread as we go through in time, but also have a look at what this is doing. So April, July, October, this is a different time span from the other map here. So this has us staying here until the sort of beginning of autumn for us here, then just going above that line, remaining very this side of neutral. So definitely in neutral, but just near that La Nina category side there. And then it has us moving out in the middle of the year and going properly into neutral later. So that's two different examples of what is possibly going to happen. So this one has us coming out faster and then possibly going the other side of the line. This one has us staying in it for longer, possibly dipping just back in or going very close and then coming out later in the year, but not going north of that line at this stage. So that's essentially what the different models are suggesting as we go right through to the long term. Let's have a look at the under ocean. So here we are. We had our negative Indian Ocean dipole. We went through this one here. It came out in December, as it usually does when the monsoon takes over. We're just bobbing around in through here, which makes sense with this. So we've got our cool blues out there, we've got our warm yellows there, but it's not a strong difference from one to the other. And so with this, we have got it just bobbing around on that side. Now this model, again, just the Australian model, thinks we're going to sharply move out of here into February and then stay in the neutral zone as we go into the middle of the year. This one we care about, particularly if you're in southern Australia. It's those juicy northwest cloud bands that every April around Anzac Day, we look to the northwest, look for those clouds and to bring that right down into the south in a lovely rain band. When this is down in the green zone, that is more likely to happen. If it's up in through here in the brown zone, it is much less likely to happen because the moisture is pushed away from Australia. This one doesn't have anything. It doesn't go into either one. It is sitting there in neutral. Let's have a look at another one that can do that. Here we have, this is from the JMA, which are another forecaster of the Indian Ocean dipole. Had it come out and move and come down back in through here. Now, this also has the modelling having it jump up as we move into the early part of the year, but it has it coming down in through here. So April, July, October, that's what they've got in through there, right through to November, December at the end of the year. So that's the time period we're looking at here. It's got it being very neutral as we go in through our autumn, in through here, in through our winter. It's got it dipping back down, but not coming right all the way down, and then staying there as we go into the later part of the year. So a slightly different expectation from what the Bureau's is. It's more down in through, not quite across the green, but down in through here. All right, so that's the long-term modelling and what we're looking at, but we know that the ocean at the moment is trying to push moisture in towards Australia because of the offset between those two things there. Now, let's go and have a look at what that means for the next week. So here we are, having a look at what we've got on the page here. Friday, 11 p.m. We're going to jump through each day as we go through. So this is the end of Friday. It's the rain during the day up until that point. Now, there is a low pressure system. You can't quite see it. Unfortunately, our mapping, while this is still in development, cuts right on that line. As soon as we actually put it live, we're going to spread it out, but it's just keeping costs down while we have it at the moment. So low pressure system, there's just off the coast there. That pushes all of the moisture just to the south of that. So it's these areas in through here, right down just south of Sydney, that are seeing the big falls today. And because the low is there, it enables it, let's actually just push in and have a good look at that one there. It enables it to come right inland up into the ranges here before it tapers off as it goes the other side of the ranges. So Coffs Harbour down to about Gosford, down to about Sydney, and right in even down to Nowra. That's where the bigger falls are today, but particularly Gosford up to about Port Macquarie and inland to the foot of the ranges there. So that's for today. Let's go through one more as we move into Saturday. So the low is now up in through here. It's moved off the coast of Brisbane. Again, anywhere to the southwest of that, that's where the heavy falls are. So it's all of these areas in through here, again, right down to Nowra or beyond, but the falls aren't quite as intense as what we're seeing during the day today. So heading into Sunday, it is less as we're moving in through here as the low moves away, and by Monday, there is hardly anything left at all. So that's what that situation looks like over the next couple. Let's have a look at the other side of the country. Let's move into this one here. Alrighty, so we'll go back to the start. We'll now have a look at Friday. Low pressure system, that is sort of just, it's not very big at the moment, 1,000, maybe 999, 998. Watch it move through, so all of the falls are here. It's developing tomorrow, 998, heading down. Here we are into, what day is this? This is on Sunday, so that's when we're most likely to see that development. It is here off the coast, that's off Karratha there, also off the Ningaloo Reef, and so that's Sunday, and then by Monday it is out through here. Let's have a look at the different model forecasts. So we'll do the USA first of all. Watch where that one goes. There we go, even deeper. And there we are by Monday. Let's go down to Euro. And there we have on Saturday. So there we are today, Saturday, Sunday, and then Monday. Let's go down to Access, which is the Australian one. Here we are today, moving into Saturday, moving into Sunday, and then into Monday it's gone, and we'll have a look at Gem as well. Heading back to, there's Friday, Saturday, Sunday. This one has it going a lot closer to the coast, and then that is actually a lot closer to the coast in through here when it moves away as well. So this may cross the coast. That is a possibility. You can see all of the different parts of what those different models are suggesting. And then we've got our AI forecast of what is most likely to happen when all of that comes together. But what this one is likely to do is anywhere in behind that cyclone, so it's moving in this direction, anywhere in behind that cyclone, that is the danger zone because our winds travel in this direction around a low. And so that is where all of those heavy falls and the big wind gusts are too. Right, so that's a developing situation and something to keep an eye on if you are in the area. Let's zoom back out and we'll have a look at, go back to the start. So here we are on Friday. We've got our low off the coast here. We've got this one developing. There's a trough line running in here, showers and storms, and we've got a cold front that's crossing the southwestern part of there. We've got high pressure moving across there. Let's bring Tasmania into it, shall we? Okay. High pressure moving through just out to the east. So we continue with those falls coming into the coast on Saturday. Heat returns to the southeast on Saturday, and this one coming in from the west isn't doing a lot. You'll watch it peter out as it moves into the southeast. By Sunday, there's our tropical cyclone happening. There's the low moving off the east coast and some wet weather just continuing thanks to this trough line that's running down in through here. High pressure is out in through here. It is warmed hot across the southeast. There is our next high pressure system in the bight. Moving into Monday, this is just the remains of what that trough was doing. It's hardly anything crossing the southeast. There's that one moving off the coast and quiet times now for the east coast, except for up north and through there. Heading into Tuesday, that's when we might see some activity coming in here. We've got our trough line. We've got a little bit of moisture coming in from the east, but this is nothing heavy at this stage. High pressure system all the way back here. And watch this guy here as we go through. So there's Tuesday. Here's Wednesday, high pressure coming in through here. Oh, I zoomed in and out. And this one is off the coast, heading into Thursday, well off the coast, and something potentially moving through the southeast, trough line running in here. And then Friday, that one's starting to move away. But it looks like we're not likely at this stage to get any tail impacts from that cyclone. So not as a cyclone anymore. It's moved out of that 26-degree water and it weakens, but it's got a lot of rain that is left over. Looks like that rain is staying off the coast, off the west coast, but there is still the chance that it may come in. It might get picked up by a cold front or something else that's moving across the bight later on in the weeks that follow and then deliver that wet weather into the country. But at the moment, it's not doing it, and we'll be looking for potentially another one to form near the coast as we go to the end of next week. Okay, so that's our next week look ahead at what's happening. In terms of wet weather, we had the low off the coast that weakens on the weekend. This starts on Monday in terms of the week ahead. So this one isn't having impact from Monday onwards. This one is our cyclone. That was mainly Saturday, Sunday, and then Monday it's moving off the coast. So you can see it just affecting that far western part there, but then not quite making it in, potentially in the southwest. But most of that, the trail of where that moisture goes, look to be saying off the coast. So that's next week, indicating that a fair bit of the country is likely to be drier than average because we don't have those big features affecting us. Another one to have a look at there is the Bureau's forecast. So that was the Euro. Here's the Bureau's one. It's got dry conditions here. It's still thinking potentially a little bit that can come in here, but this was run on the 13th, which was several days ago. So unfortunately, the Bureau's model does take a little while to update. And so that was what was likely to happen a couple of days ago, but you saw on the models now, it's remaining offshore. Might be something in through here, but otherwise it's looking fairly drier than average, the usual showers and storms moving through Queensland. That one's there. Let's have a look at our temperature. So this is the Euro for next week from Monday onwards. It's got warm conditions across much of the country, but the southeast potentially in a cooler spot. So let's go down, having a look at days. This is the chance of unusually hot weather for this time of year, and it's got all across the north and west as being in that zone. In terms of daytime temperatures that are unusually cool for this time of year, where there is a little spot that has been picked up in the southeast there. So if something comes in, that would be mainly related to clouds and potentially wet weather that would cause that. So do keep an eye on that one. And overnight, unusually hot across here and in Tasmania too, whereas unusually cool nights, there is nothing there at all. Okay, so that was week 1, which started on Monday the 20th. That's next week. Let's have a look now at week 2. So we'll move that forward. That's Monday the 27th of January, that week onwards. This has got activity coming in here. Now, we saw the potential for that next cyclone. Where do we do that one? Here. Potentially building in through here. We also saw on the MJO that it's coming into our neck of the woods, and here it is maybe spreading across more of the top parts of Australia. So let's go back to that one. Here we have an increase in wet weather in through these parts here. This is in week 2. It suggests that maybe something could come down into the south before it moves across. But in week 2, it's not a strong signal yet, but that is something to keep an eye on. Otherwise, drier than average all through these eastern parts, nothing big affecting there at this stage. In terms of what the Bureau says about that, so let's go to the following week outlook. Here is our rain. It's got an increase across the top, as you would expect with the MJO. It's got the potential for something coming down into the southwestern part, so into WA, but doesn't really like it in these parts here. Let's have a look at temperature. So we'll go into week 2, starting on the 27th of January. We have a heat signal across much of the country. Now, you'd expect it not to be in through here, particularly if there is rainfall happening. It's also not got it completely there in the southwest. Okay, let's see what the Bureau is saying here. We've got, in terms of our days, unusually hot all through these parts here, so there's a very slight risk of that one. You wouldn't expect it across the top. Into our low maximum temperature, it's got a spot here and it's got a spot here again. Interesting. But this one would be if something dips down and comes into the southwest. In terms of nighttime, warmer than average all across these parts here. And there's nothing there that is a cooler than average night in that week 2 period. Let's look further ahead and we'll move into Euro. Let's look at that one first. So this is February. There is a lot of green across this map. Let's move into March. There's a bit of a hole in through here in Queensland and in the southwest. Otherwise, there's a fair bit of green in through there. Moving into April, it starts to back off. And into May, there's not as much there. Now, this isn't as strong as it goes forward in time. So always remember that this is likely to pale as it moves forward. So we like the earlier months here rather than the later ones in terms of detail. Let's have a look at what the Bureau has to say for that. So here is February, and we've got all of this across here. So most of the country has above average rainfall as the most likely outcome as we move through February. Heading into March, we're starting to see a dry area here now, and potentially in Tasmania as well. You'll see that shortly on the longer term. So here is February through to April, a dry area here, in Western Victoria as well, as we're moving into the start of the growing season, and southwestern parts of this. This signal, to me, screams not strong cold fronts coming through, not tapping into that moisture from the northwest. Instead, what it hints at is high pressure sitting out through here, lots of warmth off the coast in here, being pushed in around that high, running into troughs that's set up here, and delivering all of those falls as they come through. So this will be a question of, we know we've got lots of moisture that's out to the east. We know that that's likely to come into Queensland. We know that's going to come into the eastern parts of New South Wales. The question is, how far inland can it go? Where is that trough going to sit? Where is that end point of how far that moisture can travel as to who gets that wet weather out to the eastern side of that? Okay, so that's our look ahead. Now let's do a little whip around the country to see where we are going. We'll start in Brisbane. The low pressure system is to the south, so we're on the side that doesn't get much. But there is a trough in the area, so that signals showers and thunderstorms for the afternoon. This one here has got 20 and 40%. So this is right in Brisbane. If you're in southeastern Queensland or anywhere across Australia, type your town name in, look at your weather station if you've got it pegged into your system, and then that will tell you what the modelling is saying for your particular spot. We want 60 and 80% here to give us a good confidence that something is coming. This says there is a low to medium risk that these showers and storms will kick off this afternoon in this particular spot. So this is as we're going to Friday into Saturday. We've got 40s, 20s, but 60s and 80s here at the later part of the day. So late afternoon into evening, that is when those showers and thunderstorms are more likely as we move into Saturday. Heading into Sunday, here we go. The activities in the morning, 60%, then 40s sort of as we go through here. So tapering off as the morning goes on, probably nothing left by the afternoon. So Sunday afternoon, if you're looking for an afternoon where it's more guaranteed to stay dry, Sunday is your day. But then we move into a dry spell. So on Monday, there's absolutely nothing at all. Moving into Tuesday, and then we have our conditions warm up. We're moving into the high 30s as we move in there. 40 and 60%. So maybe the next storms come back next Thursday. All right, let's have a look at Sydney. We do have that low that is well to the north now. So we're on the very tail end, but it certainly packs a punch. Let's have a look at the more info for today. So our winds, 75s, 85, 86, this sort of thing, right the way through, starting to taper off later. So a lot of wind that is coming through right on that coast, thanks to that low being just up there. In terms of wet weather, the showers are just streaming on through. So wet, wet, wet. There might be tight, dry breaks in between each one, or it's a fairly steady, persistent pattern as it comes in. So what's happening there now continues for the rest of the day. It continues through the night. Let's have a look at Saturday. It continues heavy, heavy, heavy. Starts to taper off, but the activity continues as we move into the afternoon and into the evening. Finally, on Sunday, that's when it eases, and during the day on Sunday, there's hardly anything left. Now, that's a pretty cool spell for Sydney. Let's watch it warm up again. So Monday, lovely. Early cloud, then sunshine. Tuesday, conditions warming up a little, moving to 29 by Wednesday. It would have gone higher, but hey, the next weather system is coming through on Thursday, so that's when we take our next cool change. Okay, so for Melbourne, second to load. This is Melbourne, trust me. We've got the last of the cloud that is coming out through there now, and then we've got sunshine during the afternoon, but there is a gusty southerly, so let's have a look at this. 21, 22, but feels like 17. Lovely. There's no more humidity, so we don't have that blanket of warmth to keep us warm anymore. It's regular Melbourne programming. So that's for today. No more wet weather. Moving into Saturday, the wind dies off. Temperatures rapidly rise as that high moves out to the Tasman Sea. And so Saturday, not a cloud in the sky. We'll go for the high 20s. Sunday, heat continues. We've got a bit of high cloud coming through, so there'll be sheets of high cloud overhead, but none of those gusty winds, moving into the low 30s. On Monday, there's a bit of cloud out there. There may be the lightest bit of rain as the remains of that western system come through. I wouldn't expect anything from that one at all. Heading into Tuesday, still warm. That's when the cool change hits. So next Wednesday, these aren't huge falls as it comes in at this stage, but there'll be a fair bit of cloud and our temperatures are back down again. Having a look at Adelaide. In terms of wet weather, 0.3 millimetres is the average across the models as we go through the next 10 days. So nothing. As we move in here, 32, 35, 36 by Sunday. So by Sunday, later there, that's when that cooler change comes through. There's nothing cold in behind it. Back to 32 on Monday, 29 and 27. So there's hardly any wet weather. There'll be a bit of cloud at times and temperatures are generally above average. Moving into the west, 40 yesterday, cool change coming in. This is where we look to get our 60s and 80%. So all of those are 60s. That's 3 weather models out of the 4 that are liking this wet weather. It thinks storms and then tapering off to showers later on and all drying up by about 2 o'clock this afternoon. After that, there's hardly anything left. Saturday, lovely. Sunday, hot. So the wind profile changes dramatically there. We've got a 41 there now on Monday, 1, maybe 2 that like a potential shower or thunderstorm. So not high chances for that. Moving into Tuesday, still hot and hardly any wet weather. Okay, that's it from me. That's our first one back for the year. What should I end with? Enjoy the weather. Hopefully stay ahead of it by having a look at what's happening at your particular spot. You can get your closest town, but if you're lucky enough to have a weather station on your property, you can get our machine learning and AI to make sure that those conditions are exactly what you can expect on your property. I'll see you next week.